Guys, I wanted to get this video up earlier, but it's been a long day, and now I have time to sit down and deal with it. And what we're looking at, and most of you are aware of it, we've got what's called a cottonwood fire up in Utah. And it is a direct result of El Nino. I can show you on the maps and all the data that we're seeing, but let me pull this up, and I'm going to give you a link to a fire map that if you're in this area or anywhere in the desert Southwest, because we got fires here, we've got them south of Sedona, Arizona. This is the biggest one, though. You got 71,847 acres involved with 0% containment, and it is 8:45 p.m. Central Time. Cottonwood fire, we're going to look at it in just a moment. Stay tuned. Now, I'm not going to make it long. Like I said, it's been a pretty long day, probably for everyone. What you're looking at here is a county boundary, and this fire, the Cottonwood fire, it jumped from Beaver County over to the Paiute County very quickly. Let me back this back out, and you can see this red area. Now, let me back this out a minute, and what you're looking at is what they're calling a potentially dangerous situation. The National Weather Service has determined that extreme fire weather conditions are occurring or will begin shortly. Fires that start will spread rapidly and may become uncontrollable. Avoid any activity that could spark a fire and follow all local fire restrictions immediately. Guys, they're not panicked, but they're in the panic mode. You understand what I'm saying? This thing is getting very serious. Now, if we pull this up, you're going to see that we're dealing with, let me pull it back. This is the county line right through here. It started in Beaver County. It wasn't that large, but it did a lot of damage. And that area is still in a level 3, do not come back. And you think with the fire, and what we're looking at as we back this out, this fire has spread to the west. Why is that? You see in the maps and the satellite models, it's showing all the wind blowing over from California out of the El Nino and up from Mexico and pushing everything to the east, right? You see this pattern? These are warnings and watches, but the red area is where the fire is. And so I did a Google map distance measurement earlier this morning and had to go take care of some things. And at that time, we were at about a 12-mile front range of fire. Looks like it's about 13 miles or so now because it has dipped closer or more south here in this area. And what you're looking at here in the mapping codes, guys, is, again, the fire areas here. And you would think after 2 or 3 days that the Cottonwood fire, which started, again, just over the county line into Beaver County, crossed into Paiute County, that would have already been out of the evacuation zone. But it is the most alerted area yet. What they're saying is they damaged Eagle Point, they damaged different cabins and resorts in that area, and that the embers are still so warm and the depth of the embers in the underbrush is still so hot that they're afraid that these 50-mile-an-hour winds that are coming from El Nino, moving from left to right, which are completely dry, no rain, nothing in them. You've seen them for days over the desert Southwest. And we're really just above this. I mean, here you go up into Utah, you got Skinwalker Ranch off to the right. You got all the Utah City. You got all of that area. And then if you break this down, and the reason I'm going into detail on the map is because you're going to get this link. If you're in this area, you need this link because it's called Watch Duty. It's tied into the local sheriffs of Paiute and Beaver County. And so when I inquired about it, I said, why, since the fire started here again in Beaver County and quickly jumped over here, and it's 12 or 13 miles wide on the front. Look at this, guys. And this was way back away from the interstate earlier today. And it is expanded. When you think about that again, and look at the 90, let's see, it's, I think 91,000 acres, something like that. Imagine that. Look at some other areas, you know, and it's twice that big. This is the largest fire in the U.S., by the way. We've got a powerful one that's 10% of this, that's north of Sedona, burning up through the canyons, and they have watches out there, but the canyons are so remote, and it's not really like developed or anything, but you have hiking and camping. So they have alerts out to the rangers to search a huge area north and northwest going up into the valleys of Sedona for campers and people trapped and things like that. But again, this area is called BCU EO22A. You see that? That has a particular meaning. And all of the scales are over here on the right. From active to the end, the start, every detail you could imagine, to even up to evacuation zones and evacuation refugee points. Okay? And when they issue, what they've done now is issue a PDS. It's called a particularly dangerous situation that poses a significant threat to life and property in the event of a wildfire start or with an existing fire. Again, it's the first time in Utah's history that a PDS has ever been issued. But you got a raging fire here. We got about a 13-mile front. Now imagine, you look at any interstate around you, imagine 13 miles from where you're at to some city or whatever. Now how many fire trucks would it take to cover this 13 or so miles that's quickly expanding? And again, I looked at the data like fire trucks, the tanker planes that can drop it. And what they're finding, guys, is amazing, and it has to do with that extreme El Nino wind pattern that's blocking all the moisture and pulling everything to the right. They're finding out that as they drop that, which is kind of a pink color retardant from the big planes to suppress the fire, that the moisture in it, which is critical for it to absorb and saturate, is evaporating before it hits the surface. So it's useless at that point. And again, imagine how many firefighters it would take to handle this 13 or 14 mile front line, but they have a south line and they have a north line that's expanding. Again, these warnings, guys, goes to the level. So when you get here and you click on some of this information, which we're looking at the area above the fire zone, again, it's in that particularly dangerous situation. It's in a red flag warning issued June 26th today at 2:54 p.m. this afternoon until June 28th at 3 a.m. Mountain Time. Think about that. This is a particularly dangerous situation for locations including Marysville and Junction in Paiute County, Pagan Titch in Garfield County, Beaver and Milford in Beaver County, Cedar City and Enoch in Iron County, and Enterprise and Pine Valley in Washington County. This also includes the Cottonwood Fire. This thing is out of control. 0% El Nino winds blowing. If you're looking at this map from the left side all the way to the right, warnings everywhere. And here's one of the main problems, guys. You look at the start of it over here in Beaver County, and you look at this state road I-53, or they call it 53 a lot of times. I think it's about 25 miles from this area to Junction. If you follow it up and come back down into Junction, right here on Highway 89, it's about 25 miles. Did you know 23 miles of that is shut down because it has burnt the woods, the forest? It has burnt the electrical poles, the transformers, and the lines for about 23 miles. We've talked about how scarce transformers are and how this desert heat would affect them. Guys, just yesterday, we weren't including the heat from a forest fire at that point, but right now we have something very deadly that's moving east. Now, another thing I want to point out. Again, this is Highway 98. Let's back it up again a little bit. Richful, you're getting up into the areas, Molly's Fire, all the way up into the north sections of Utah. Here's Great Salt Lake, all of that. Anyway, look at how far these areas of warnings extend. But let me zoom back in. I want to show you something that they're watching very closely. I think it's important to the video. Right here, where the fire has really its closest approach to U.S. Highway 89, we have the Sevier River. You got a couple of different areas. Hold on. I needed to change that, guys. Again, this is a much clearer view. You've got the Sevier River. You got different dams along it, different reservoirs. This is the Paiute Reservoir, whatever you call it. And you'll notice all along this area of this Sevier River, you got agricultural projects going on, taking advantage of it, just like you do in the Yuma Valley in Arizona. But what they're seeing, guys, is, and I looked at the data, went to the database on this river, the Sevier River. It looks nothing like this. The deepest point is now in it, mostly sandbars and dried vegetation along the bank. Highest point's about 3.8 feet in the entire river in this area. And so I looked into what they're doing about it. And guys, they're stationing a lot of people along this area so that, and try to contain it from jumping, again, the Sevier River Valley and getting back into the mountains here. They told us this would be one of the great fires. It's the largest in the nation. But the problem with it is exactly what we've been looking at, guys. And again, you're going to get this full map. Over to the right, you can pull up anything you want. These are power outages already. The yellow lines like this, you can click on those. They give you the amount of power. You can look over here for whatever area you're in. If you need somewhere to evacuate to, they have that information. This is critical. It's all been put together very carefully and very detailed in data. Okay, that's what I look for. So as we pull this up, we got 89 runs all the way up, north into just off to the right of the Great Salt Lake into the capital cities there. And so U.S. Highway 89, as far as I know now, is still open. But look at the fire containment. It's going to drop out of the mountains, cross the valley, and back into the mountains, unless they can stop it here at the Sevier River. And it's not very big. This is it under normal conditions. So I looked at the data again. It's below 4 feet. Many sandbars. It's not like this. All the vegetation along the edge has prematurely dried because of the March heat wave knocked out the mountain snow. So what they're dealing with is it's like a very dry, tender fire, perfect for fires all on both banks. So they don't want it to jump across the Sevier River at this point here and go back into the mountains. I don't know how they can stop it, because you've got this front will approach Highway 89 first, guys. This is a 10-mile road. If you're from that area, this is Monroe Mountain Road. You know where you're at, all right? So it's not just going to be try to contain there. And you probably won't have to worry about a lot of containment unless it burns around the edges of the Paiute Reservoir. But if you look back at it, some smaller reservoirs like right here, it was burned all the way around Puffer Lake. So maybe it won't happen here, but they are now staging here. They know it's 0% contained. Why? No moisture, no humidity, high winds, high temperatures. It cannot be contained as is, so they're going to try to not dive into the fire, but they're trying to burn sections outside of the fire so that when the actual fire gets there, they have no more feed. They have no more wood to burn, no more brush. You understand what I'm saying? But I've seen in high wind situations before that when they go out with these out front burns to make a protective zone in high winds, it usually ends up being a damn disaster. Time after time, from Canada all the way through the Northwest U.S. And so if they're planning on that happening, stop at crossing the Paiute River. And again, we don't know what these fields right here really look like at this point, because it was before this year's drought set in. So these could all be fallowed fields at this point. And again, this damage is done. Beaver County damage is done. But if this wide area, it's like starts here, comes out into a wide area pushed by the El Nino winds, what's it going to do further out? Again, we don't know that, but I do know that by giving you all the details and the direct link to this map, you stand a chance. It will tell you evacuation routes, evacuation places, places that are closed down, and things like, again, 23 miles of a 25-mile highway with the telephone poles and the power poles burned, the lines are burned, the transformers burned. How long would it take to run 25 miles of new poles, lines, and transformers? Think about that, and the shortages are popping up. It's not just the fire, but these yellow areas, you click on them, and it will start to drop information on you. If you're in this area, whatever it is, again, I'm not going to go through all the details. It's been a long day, but I wanted to give you this information. Guys, they said this would be a record-breaking fire and possibly unstoppable. Now, under normal conditions, I would say they could probably put a damper on it along this section of the Sevier River. But look at the width of it. Look at how dry everything around is, and look at the previous history of it surrounding reservoirs and moving. So all of you guys need to be very alert and download this map, get the link, and you start paying attention to it. If you're in any of these areas, again, if they're worried still at the beginning of the fire over in Beaver County, and it's a level 3, do not come back evac. And they're saying it's because there's so many embers from Eagle Point, to the other lodges and things like that. They're afraid any wind shift will kick this fire right back up. So it's better to be safe than sorry. But it is a do not return zone. Guys, this is a major deal. I'm going to show you one other, and I'm going to get out of here. And this is just north of one of my favorite places in the world, guys. It's called the Pocket Fire, Red Rock Secret Mountain Wilderness Area north of Sedona. It's got, right now, 1,513 acres burned, 0 containment. And what's happening, let's pull this up. Again, you can get all your information here. Look at the way it's burning back to the northeast. And again, their warnings here is that it's not populated, but you have so many hikers and campers and things like that go into this area that they want the National Forest Service to come into these areas, back it up, and look for people in trouble. Again, Pocket Fire here, 0% containment. They don't think it will end, and this is going up to June 28th, anytime soon. But again, Sedona, all that area, this is Red Rock Secret Mountain Wilderness, is all here's West Sedona. Again, under the graph, Sedona here. Been there many times, been up to the Grand Canyon. But this Pocket Fire is being trapped. We got westerly winds moving from the Pacific Ocean across the land, moving east. And what it's doing, the reason it's going this way, is the valleys. You get into a valley like that, guys, you cannot trust that wind moving from left to right when it's down in the valleys and following the valley like a river is. And that's what you're seeing. And so they're warning people there, and they're putting people into evacuation. But again, it is active, but nothing compared, but it's the second largest, nothing compared to the Cottonwood Fire up in Utah. Again, the links are here. Take advantage of them. If you have friends in the area, family, send this link to them. Again, it's going to give you evacuation routes, roads that are closed, power outages. So you maybe don't want to go to a motel or hotel with power out. You're not much better off in desert heat. But the sad thing to me about it was the areas burned were more like northern Arizona, where you've got the high mountain forest. You understand what I mean? It's beautiful. It's where the bears and the elk and all of that go, right? And it got it. It's taking those out. These are areas that are not desert. And so, again, what's happening is that we talked about the snow melt in the Rockies and how that would affect things. The snow is not here in these valleys. And that would normally saturate the top of the mountains, keep everything a little wetter, keep the atmosphere wetter. But now no snow. Nothing's there, and there's no protection. Anyway, guys, here, I'm going to give you the map link. You get in touch with your folks there. We can back it all the way out. You got over 70 fires across the nation. The strongest one is the one we're focused on right now, Cottonwood. But you guys in Florida, they're not as large and they're more scattered. And what's happening is this moisture plume that's been trapped by this heat wave is still funneling through the Mississippi River Valley. Amen. Thank you, Father. But that's the way it was. Think about it. You see the green here? This is where the water was designed to come to support life. Over here, it was not. It was a river. I know I'm being a little whatever about this, but it was not designed to handle what this area handles where we live. And we're getting record rain, record cooling temperatures. I love it. I feel sorry for my brothers and sisters that are over here. Now, this is going to change. It's going to move. And guys, what's so bad is the next 10-day weather projection as far as temperatures. And guys, it's about to triple digit all the way across the U.S., all of this area. Triple digits, records up to 120 because of the El Nino. We're watching, guys. I love every one of you. It's a late video. I couldn't help it. Our Father loves every one of you. It's a heads up. You be safe, and you share this map, and you call and you check on everybody anywhere in this area that you're concerned about. Be safe.